Jakobi Meyers, another wide receiver, Matthew, with a new quarterback. What do we have on Meyers? A friend of the show as well, and someone who, again, relatively unsexy, but a producer.
And that's part of what this column is about, and kind of trying to unearth, because you see the flashy names, but you may not be aware that in each of the past 3 seasons, Jakobi Meyers has finished as a top 30 wide receiver in points per game, right? And then the 12 games he played last year without Davante Adams, he had a 27% target share. 27%. The 12 games he played last year without Davante Adams, Jakobi Meyers was wide receiver 20. Last year, the Raiders, by the way, they ranked 26th in yards per pass attempt. In the 3 years in Seattle, Geno Smith, the new Raiders quarterback, the Seahawks were 9th in yards per pass attempt. So they were 26th in pass attempt, but in the 12 games without Davante Adams, Jakobi Meyers was still wide receiver 20. He's currently being drafted as a top 40 wide receiver, just barely as a top 40 wide receiver. This is a guy who's got top 20 upside with an upgraded quarterback and a faster pace of play in Chip Kelly calling the offense.
Yep. Lawrence, past couple of years we've had new rookie quarterbacks come into the league and immediately just be not just excellent from a real-life football perspective, from fantasy perspective too. Yeah. C.J. Stroud 2 years ago, Bo Nix, and obviously Jaden Daniels last year.
Right.
Cam Ward is the clearest candidate for that this year, number 1 overall pick. And if he's going to be good, Calvin Ridley is going to be the guy that benefits.
Yeah, and good for Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward that they have each other. Like, Cam Ward doesn't walk into a situation where he doesn't have, a top receiver. Calvin Ridley, on the other hand, he has a chance to kind of get back to what he did his last year as an Atlanta Falcon when Matt Ryan was his quarterback, who's the best athlete of all time. But that's for another day. But look,
8,000.
like even better than Michael Jordan. Like, that's how great Matt Ryan is. But that's for another day.
Better than Dominique Wilkins.
Dyson Daniels?
Yeah.
You want to make it tough now.
Right.
You make it tough.
Right. Dale Murphy?
I'm just going to...
Tom Glavine? John Smoltz? Who is your favorite Atlanta athlete? All seriousness.
Probably...
Atlanta professional sports athlete.
Probably Vic or Julio.
I get that.
Matt Ryan.
Not Dyson Daniels?
Dominique's in there. Mookie Blaylock.
Mookie Blaylock.
I used to love Mookie Blaylock, man.
I had Mookie Blaylock on a lot of fantasy basketball teams back in the day. Always a great source of steals and threes. Mookie Blaylock.
But for former Atlanta athlete Calvin Ridley, back-to-back 1,000-yard season. It doesn't seem like it. But that's because last season he was catching passes from Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, and the year before that was with Trevor Lawrence. He had trouble that year. So in those past 2 seasons, he's only averaging 70 receptions and has a total of 12 touchdowns receptions. Those are the 2 numbers that's keeping his numbers down in fantasy, because the 1,000 yards, that's okay. But for a top receiver on your team, you should be having more than 70 catches. And I think he could clearly, I'm talking with Cam Ward, 90 to 100 catches he should be having now.
Calvin Ridley, probably pretty happy with his new quarterback situation. We heard from Ridley talking about how unique and special Cam Ward is.
I haven't been around a young guy with that confidence and that swagger in a long time. He doesn't crack easy. He makes, some bad plays, he moves on to the next play. He makes good plays, he moves on to the next play. And you really don't see that. And his timing, with his arm. He's pretty accurate, pretty on time with the ball, and obviously can always get better with it. But, coming in as a young guy like that and, being up to date like that, I think he's ahead of his time.
Okay, Cam Ward to Calvin Ridley for a touchdown. Get used to hearing that this season. Says at Sleeper, tighten up.
Tighten up.
Still right up there with keep pounding as the best taglines.
For sure. Get this. Last year there were 21 different players that had at least 120 targets. And of those 21 players, none of them had a higher off-target rate than Calvin Ridley in terms of how many uncatchable balls came in his general vicinity.
That matches the eye test.
Yes, of course, right? That's a stat that tells you what we just talked about right there.
Yeah.
He had 4 games. There were only 4 games last year where, as it gets tracked, Calvin Ridley had only 4 games with 7 or more catchable passes. Only 4 games where he got 7 balls that should have been caught. In those 4 games, he averaged 18.3 fantasy points per game. which is just, massive name. Right, by the way, last season, no wide receiver in the NFL had more deep targets than Calvin Ridley. Again, same offensive scheme. They like to throw it deep. They like to throw it deep to Calvin Ridley. But you think about Cam Ward when he's in college last year, the 4th most completions on passes of 20 or more yards. He's accurate deep. He likes to throw it deep. The first preseason game, 43% target share for Calvin Ridley from Cam Ward. Cam Ward's no dummy. He's looking around like I could, Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Van Jefferson.
Oh, yeah, Van Jefferson's there.
Van Jefferson's going to be like the starting outside wide receiver.
I know.
Yeah, it's not
They
great.
got a couple of rookies that we'll see. But anyway, Calvin Ridley, I'm at wide receiver 31, and honestly, I'm higher on him than consensus, and I might be too low.
Yeah. Matthew, one of the strangest players in the NFL, I think, is Juwan Jennings, who a couple of years ago, Juwan Jennings, group him in with like the Devin Duvernays and Ray McLeod's, just like kind of just a 4th receiver guy. Could have been the Super Bowl MVP.
I've said that. If they had won, he should have been the MVP that year.
And now could be wide receiver 1 for what might be one of the best offenses in football.
Yeah, it's a weird offseason, obviously, because there's talk that he's got this injury, but then there's also he wants a contract. So is it an actual injury, or is it this is the kind of injury that'll be better if I rub money on it, so we don't know. We don't know.
That always get people feeling better, right?
Well, 100%. How do you think we got Connor Rogers in here?
Yeah.
He didn't want to come, but we just,
Connor Rogers holding out today.
Yeah,
after
exactly.
Marcelo Zuna cleared the bases last night. The big bear.
But the thing about Juwan Jennings is the opportunity's there. You mentioned he might be the number 1 guy, right? Brandon Ayuk not expected back until week 6 at the earliest, and we know the 49ers are not always crystal clear when it comes to timelines. Jordan Watkins, their 4th round rookie wide receiver, he's expected to miss a month. He's got that high ankle sprain. Demarcus Robinson, I don't know if people remember this, but they actually signed him in March, Demarcus Robinson. He's now with the Niners. He's facing a potential suspension. Deebo Samuel is obviously now in Washington. That frees up a 19% target share. So there's a scenario here with Juwan Jennings just gets a ton of run. He played 9 games last year where he had over 70% of the snaps. So the 9 games where Juwan Jennings got real run, where he played over 7% of the snaps, he averaged 17.9 fantasy points per game. Just to give you a context, last year 17.9 fantasy points per game would have been wide receiver 7 in fantasy football. He's currently being drafted as wide receiver 44. I get there's some uncertainty about when he's going to be available, how banked up he is, but wide receiver 44 for a guy that basically averaged top 7 fantasy points in 9 games last year.
Yep.
And I would argue his opportunity has increased, not decreased this year.
Definitely increased. And I think this situation, whatever's going on with the money and the calf, it'll figure itself out before the season. It always does with the 49ers. We've seen it in past years with Deebo Samuel in his contract situation. But look, George Kittle and Deebo both missed 2 games last year, but Juwan Jennings led this team in targets last year. And he's put it on in front of our eyes that he can be this team's wide receiver 1. Has a great on-field rapport with Brock Purdy, career year. So I think as soon as that situation figures itself out, and whether it's happening in these next few weeks, it's draft season, his ADP will go up.
I'll tell you something crazy. When I was thinking in the offseason about who my ride or die would be this year, Juwan Jennings made the initial list. And then all this stuff with the training camp. But I think he's super talented. And just people don't realize how good he is because Ayuk and Deebo and
like
McCaffrey
the 6th
and
most
Kittle.
famous person on the offense.
That's right. That's the problem. But he is just as good, if not better, than some of those guys. I've made that argument a million times that had the 49ers won that Super Bowl, he should have been the MVP. He wouldn't have won it, but he should have been.
Yep. Absolute advanced stats, darling as well.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings in terms of yards per route run, PFF grading, percentage of his catches that go for first downs. He is, on a per snap basis, one of the most productive wide receivers in football. All right, let's pivot to the land of Mookie Blaylock and Trae Young, another assorted Atlanta athletes. Darnell Mooney, and we heard from head coach Raheem Morris providing an update on Mooney's current injury.
It's still the same. He's been out probably a week and a half now. We're kind of just waiting and rolling, and he'll be at a week-to-week basis, and we're just waiting.
You feel any type of way about week 1?
I feel great based on my medical expertise and talking to those guys a week ago. So I feel good about getting him back healthy and ready to go. When? I don't know, but we'll have him back healthy and ready to go this year.
So I think that's the type of thing, he's dealing with a shoulder injury. That's the type of thing where if you just read the quote and you hear it end with Raheem Morris saying, we're going to get him back this year, that's like kind of terrifying. Like this year.
Yeah.
But I think that's just like, he was just ending his sentence. Like I don't think he was actually implying anything with that. So I don't read too much into this injury.
No, if they didn't specify whether or not, if they would have said indefinitely, then that's a cause for some concern. Or they say something like, hope to get him back by mid-season. When they say stuff like that, that's when you kind of worry. But there's been nothing that's been said to make us feel like he won't be back for week 1. And if he does happen to miss week 1, it won't be long after that.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And by the way, you think about Darnell Mooney and his skill set, right? Last year, there were only 4 players with more receiving yards on deep passes than Darnell Mooney. Well, small sample size, but in the 3 starts that he had last season, no quarterback had a higher average depth of target than Michael Penix Jr. He's got a cannon of an arm. He loves to throw it deep. No, in the 3 starts last year, no player had a higher percentage of his passes travel 20 or more air yards than Michael Penix Jr. So obviously we know Drake London, but I think this offense is going to be high octane enough to support 3 fantasy relevant players in London, Bijan Robinson, of course, and Darnell Mooney. I am not.
You're just going to leave out the GOAT?
Kyle Pitts.
You leave out the GOAT like that?
I'm not a believer.
Who's the GOAT?
Listen,
Kyle, what?
Listen, you know the saying. Fool me 7 times.
Do you know that once upon a time, he had 1,000 yards in a season?
His first season.
Right? Do you know what?
Once upon a time.
He was getting table service with Justin Fields.
And yucking it up, too. Just smiling like he just Travis Kelce numbers every year.
But he's like, listen, I'm a top 5 overall pick. He got paid. He's a rich man.
Yeah, he is.
I want to invest in Michael Penix and all the kind, and this is another peripheral way to do that by drafting Darnell Mooney. I think. I'm not sure how much to read into this, and I'm not writing these guys off yet, but I think it's a good indicator that Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk didn't do much last year without Michael Penix, and he put up huge numbers at Washington with those guys. Same thing with like Bo Nix. Bo Nix's receivers didn't do much. So
Troy
I think
Franklin,
that is
whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a good indicator that Michael Penix is the real.
Because the other thing, by the way, we've seen Darnell. I mean, not only was Darnell Mooney productive last year in Atlanta, but like he had moments in Chicago as well. With let's be kind, inconsistent quarterback play. So
he was also the top receiver there. He's much better in this role as a number 2.
Yep.
Totally agree. And to be clear, like some of these, Darnell Mooney's like a 12-team, 3-wide receiver type player.
Sure.
Like he's not if you're in a 10-team, two, where you still only start 2 wide, you probably forget about Mooney. But hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.